Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us and to introduce us to get us started in our session for the DB156B Ask the Expert, Creating a Resilient, Inclusive, and Hybrid Workspace. I'd like to introduce Angela Donahue. Angela, go ahead and take us away.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And it looks like, Jeff, we might still be seeing your screen, so just a quick check on that. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. You may have just watched Nicole Herskowitz's session, which was action-packed with so many different announcements for Microsoft Teams across meetings, calling, devices, and platform. And we're super excited to talk to you more about this. So thank you for taking some more time to give us some more questions. I'm joined here by a group of subject matter experts, and we are here for you. So please start bringing in any questions that you want. You can ask us anything, and we will try to answer to the best of our ability. We will also be posting some links to some great blogs that came out this morning that give you more detail on some of the announcements. And there are also many other sessions throughout Ignite today and tomorrow that you should tune into as well. So we're going to start with just a couple of the announcements and some of the exciting ones that have gotten a lot of chatter so far. So I might start with the Fast Track Rooms offer. And Lars, I was going to point this one at yourself. Nicole made a huge announcement today around Fast Track Rooms. Can you tell us what that means for customers?
Sure, I'd love to talk about this one. This is really an exciting piece of news that we talked about today. So, Fast Track has been a Microsoft service that has been around for years, helping customers getting up and running on our technology. I mean, many of you are familiar with Fast Track from the very beginning of when cloud email migration started, and Fast Track was there to help migrate your mailboxes to the cloud and to take that first kind of anxiety out of the process, because we have experts that do this at scale. Of course, Fast Track has been really increasing their capability over the past several years and getting into things like security and SharePoint and many other things. And our partners that partner very closely with Fast Track have allowed us to have tremendous scale. And so, what Nicole talked about this morning is for customers who are trying to figure out how do we master this hybrid work environment as we start the reentry back to the physical workspace. How do we ensure that that vision of coordinated meetings and those in the conference room and those dialing in, that's all going to work together, and that we have the right equipment and formats to make that happen? And so if you go to rooms.microsoft.com, you can actually, sign up for Microsoft to come in and help you stand up your first 2 rooms. And that's just a really exciting offer to start that space off.
Can you tell us just a little bit more what it means to stand up? I think we're talking about deployment services here, right, Lars?
That's correct. And so, one of the things that is included in this kind of idea of standing up a room is on-site services. And so the idea that after we go through an envisioning process of what kind of the space requirements are, what the needs are, that we actually have people on site helping to get those first 2 rooms set up. We also have additional services that were announced over the summer of ensuring that those rooms continue to be upgraded, patched, up to date, and premium support offerings as well. And so we really want to help you through this entire life cycle.
Awesome. Very cool. If you don't mind putting that website again into the chat, that would be great. I think it was rooms.microsoft.com for anyone that's interested in taking a look at that offering. Very cool. Let's stay on the meeting room a little bit. There were a couple of new devices that were also announced. Microsoft Teams panels and intelligent speakers. Do you want to continue on, Lars? Unless there's anyone else, feel free to also jump in from our panel of SMEs.
I'm happy to keep talking. I'll start with the idea of the panel, which is we want to ensure that when it comes to understanding rooms are available for use, which ones are in use. You saw some really interesting technology that is certainly time relevant when it comes to things like capacity notifications and ensuring that when we have social distancing limits in the conference room, that we have provided that notification back to the conference room attendees. Super, super important and timely information for keeping our customers safe right now. You also saw how do we really create this idea of meetings equity for those who have returned into the workplace versus those who are continuing to be a remote participant. How do we ensure that the people who are remote feel like they're fully immersed in the experience? You heard things like, well, gosh, can we make sure that we have the notes that are being taken and technology that's being used to not only transcribe, but to really identify who is actually speaking in the room, so those dialing in don't need to actually do that work on their own. So everything from the technology helping to create a transcript and to create the notes, as well as figuring out who's saying what, is really kind of breakthrough stuff that we announced.
Super exciting and super helpful. We were joking earlier about how this is going to take all our note-taking tasks away with that extra help in transcription. There was a question in the chat for Christina. I think you would be the best in helping us answer about team standard meetings and when there's been some increases and increases. They've heard some increase to 1,000. When is that going to happen? What does that entail? Can you just talk a little bit more about our larger size meetings?
Sure, yeah, happy to. So towards the end of this year, we're going to be launching interactive 1,000 person meetings. And so the great meeting experience that you're used to today will be available for up to 1,000 people. And that'll also include new features that are rolling out around sharing reactions, other kinds of great options. And that's going to be available via the Advanced Comms SKU, which is a new add-on plan to any enterprise or education license. And I put a link to learn more about it if you're interested in the Q&A and the published questions. So feel free to take a look at that. And then we also announced some other new really exciting things for coming to Teams meetings a little bit later this year. And that includes the ability to scale up to 20,000 participants in a Teams meeting. And as you probably know, if you have 20,000 people in a meeting and everyone can unmute, that could be problematic. And so there's certain guardrails in place that, once you join and you've reached a certain capacity, the person who joins, the 11,000th person that joins, will automatically be muted and will only be able to view the event versus sharing screens or things that you could do in the more interactive, smaller meetings.
Great, thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
Another question in the chat for us about ServiceNow integrations. We saw a lot of excitement about this. Bruce, this is something you can speak a little bit more to about what was announced and when those are coming.
Hi, Angela. Bruce here. Sorry about that. I didn't have my my mute on. Could you just repeat that question one more time? I was trying to answer another one.
No worries. Yeah, there was a lot of excitement and questions around the ServiceNow integration. So can you talk a little bit more about that and where folks can find more information?
Yeah, so in that particular question, there is on the ServiceNow website some information on integration. And I believe also on some of the Microsoft public doc site, there might be a little bit of that information. There are connectors that ServiceNow has that allows integration into Teams. I don't have a lot of detail on it, but I would point that person to ServiceNow directly.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Lonnie, there are some questions coming in around some of the touchless experiences that we had a really great video and demo on today. Can you talk a little bit more about some of those experiences for the meeting room and the meeting room devices?
Yeah, sure. So it's really exciting to see some of the experiences for as people with reentry and hybrid meetings going back into workplaces and be able to use tools like Cortana and some of the new touchless devices to start meetings, to join meetings, to have other people join meetings from home while you're in the conference room. So I'm really excited with the panels as well, and also being able to start the meetings from your phone. That's been a big request for a while on when you go into a meeting room, being able to do that. So exciting to see both the Cortana integration and the mobile app integration as well.
There was also an announcement about the coordinated join with Surface Hub. Can you talk a little bit about that one? I know people are excited to see that one as well.
Yeah, I think it's great to have the different devices in the room to focus on the participants and then also on the content. So being able to do that and have the devices know that with the other items in the room, and then being able to individually walk up to the Surface and make your notes, and being able to do that as the devices connect to the meeting room. So very exciting to have all of that technology and to really focus on the meeting participants and the content separately.
Yeah, super important as folks are starting to head back to the office, and we want to make everything, you know, safe, seamless, and productive and efficient experiences. The room capacity announcement also was really great. I thought that was super innovative and unique as we look at the people counting cameras that are in the room and able to show those capacity notifications so that you can tell even on the new Teams displays whether or not that room is allowing any other members to join in. So I think that is great, something that's coming out of these new hybrid experiences post-COVID. One exciting announcement we made earlier this year that's coming next month is breakout rooms. Is there anyone of our panel who can talk a little bit more about the breakout rooms experience, what that might look like for the users?
Yeah, hey, this is Chris. I can talk about that. So the breakout room experience is going to be fantastic in a number of different scenarios, whether we're talking about, say, in education, where a teacher might want to pull students out into different working groups or functional breakouts, if you will, or maybe think about a corporate scenario where you have a hackathon, let's say, and you want to be able to have different working groups spin that out into different experiences. So as the meeting organizer, I can go through and say, I'd like to create some breakout rooms. I can specify a number of rooms I'd like to manage the breakout room size and the experience I'd like to. I can have the system auto-assign people based on sort of normalization. Or if I want to be specific about what the breakout room configuration would look like, I can assign people to specific breakout rooms. I can give them names, if you will. So if I wanted to give them a topic or give people in different team designators, I can do that as well too. I can then go ahead and start the breakout room experience. People can then will then move into a separate meeting where they're able to collaborate, do the things they need to do, work on whiteboard, that sort of a thing. And as the owner of the meeting, I can hop in between the different breakout room experiences, engage, ask questions, prompt, and again, the teacher scenario, being able to help the kids. And then when I'm done, I can then finish out the breakout room experience and pull everybody back together. And then in thinking about that meeting life cycle, because they're all different meetings, the breakout rooms, people can then reference that material that they've generated during the meetings. If they wanted to say, present their results in a hackathon, or the students wanted to show the effort of their collaborative experience on a whiteboard, what have you. So really a fantastic experience. And the thing that's top of mind for most everybody is, when are we going to get it? And the public roadmap and the Microsoft 365 public roadmap says this is something targeting early Q4 this year. So something we're really excited about.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's right. In our blog we published this morning, we did even get a little bit more narrow and say October. So next month, we should see that breakout rooms start rolling out. So thank you for that explanation. There are some questions around webinar enhancements. Christina, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So We have a lot of exciting new things coming to Teams meetings, including the ability to add a registration, attendee registration page. So you can essentially, just with a couple clicks, add a page, add custom questions, and then take that link from the page and share it out in emails, in any of your other marketing campaigns. And so this registration ahead of time will really help you to manage your attendees a little bit easier. And then on the other end of that, we also have some great enhanced reporting coming. So after you hold a webinar, you're able to look at your engagement report and see who attended, who did not, if somebody raised their hand during the event, or when we launch polls, if somebody's taken a poll. You can also do a deeper dive into each individual registration components. So for example, if somebody registered for the event and you'd added a couple of custom questions. So in addition to their name and title and where they work, you asked them how familiar they were with the topic you were going to be talking about. You can double click into attendees' responses before and after the event to really get an idea of what your attendees are interested in and really curate that experience for not just the attendees, but also the presenters. What else? There's so much exciting stuff coming out. Another thing that's going to be launching this calendar year are new content layouts for presenters. So meaning in this webinar scenario where we just talked about, the presenter will be able to share their screen and be presenting a PowerPoint and overlay themselves in the bottom corner over the content. And this is an ideal scenario for people that don't want to have the attendees choose between watching them on the screen or watching their content. And it also gives this experience of being in the same room with somebody and seeing them standing in front of a screen talking, which is great for, as we all heard about today, meeting fatigue and you know, trying to stay engaged as much as possible. So yeah, so those are a few of the things that we have coming that we're really excited about.
Thank you, Christina, so much there. We're excited as we expand those features as well. There's a question, and I'm going to point this one at Conrad. Do we have a preferred Microsoft Teams Room certified room hardware, or is it just any type of hardware? And so Conrad, can you address this one for us?
Well, there's a lot of different devices for rooms, so we can use any vendor we like. We have the better opportunity with the devices I used Polycom devices, Lenovo, HP. There are so many different. There are special site on Microsoft Teams site explaining those devices and differences between them. So probably if someone has few rooms to utilize, can test some of those devices to get best experience for him.
Wonderful. Yeah, and that site that Conrad's referring to is aka.ms/Teams devices, and you can take a look at the full portfolio of Teams rooms we have available today. We have 6 different OEMs, so definitely take a look. And they all have the same great Teams experience on them, including all the features we talked about today. So that's a great first place to take a look and browse and see what we have available across the different spaces. Thank you, Conrad. On that note, sticking to rooms, another question. This one's for Greg. When will Microsoft Teams get the ability to call Zoom meetings? We're in a mixed mode, so this customer is in a mixed hybrid environment. Can you talk a little bit about that ability to join third-party meetings?
Yeah, sure. So we have coming, in fact, out today in the current iteration of the MTR firmware, we have the ability to join natively from the MTR to a WebEx meeting. This is powered by the WebRTC capabilities and features that we built in. So it's a native integration there, no additional software or third-party tools needed. The Zoom is on the roadmap for later this calendar year. We hope to see that before the end of December. And then that will give you the ability to have and meet and join meetings, whether they're Teams, Zoom, or WebEx meetings directly from the MTR.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much. That one has been a very, we've gotten a lot of feedback on that feature, so we're excited to have that one launched very soon. This question's for Anthony. Just kind of a general question around kind of getting up and started with Teams. This customer is new to Teams and just struggling about getting like how to use Teams. Where can we find good resources? And do you want to just talk a little bit about maybe a couple best practices that you've seen?
Oh yeah, so this one, it seems like a simple question, but I think the hardest part about it was, there's so many good resources actually. So what I did was I kind of threw out a general link, and I found that just to be a great place to get started. There's just a ton of best practices in there around organizing teams. Should you lock down the creation of teams to just admins, or do you let your users use it? And all these questions nobody can really answer for you because they're going to really depend on your organization. So the best way to handle this is, of course, to find that information online, review the Microsoft guides and documents out there. But if there's a partner firm out there that knows your firm well, they can absolutely assist with that. If you don't tend to work with outside partners, then those guys will really help you out. But even at just a general start, just diving right in, we found that just letting the users kind of explore it a little bit, workshop it a little bit, just having that Teams and that channel capability to maybe organize their projects, all their conversations, their files, and everything's over in this nice little team over here, or maybe department where HR can have their conversations over there. It's really quite an easy application to get growing organically.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Anthony. And for Al, this customer wants to know how we can integrate third-party apps. Can we do that ourselves? Do you need extensions? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Yeah, so with Microsoft Teams, I mean, right now there's over 700 custom apps already available, third-party apps, and you can manage those via the Teams Admin Center. So you can turn things on, turn things off, make it so that, certain groups of users can use the apps or add their own. The Teams apps permission policies really handle that really well. And if you do have some in-house talent that's customizing their own apps, whether it's Power Apps or other code bases, you can actually add those to Teams and expose those and push those out to your users. So there's a lot of flexibility to take current apps you use, push them to Teams, or go out and find some third-party apps that people like. I know a lot of our customers' favorites are things like Trello, Asana, things we would love them to use Microsoft 365 apps for, but it's fine. You can still run Trello, Asana, other tools within Teams and push them out as a third-party app.
What's your favorite app, Al?
My favorite app is probably basically I know we have a lot of customized Power Apps that we use at Microsoft, so I like using those. I would still say, my favorite is I have a couple customers that, we haven't got them to migrate the planner yet. So they're using Trello. So believe it or not, we'll join and we'll access stuff via Trello for them. So I think it's a great opportunity to take those groups of users that still, you can't get them over to your side yet to use the apps that you already own with Planner, but allow them to use their other apps and expose them in Teams so that everybody can access them in the same place. So.
Perfect. Thank you. This one's for Anthony. We have a calling question. So our first calling one, is there a plan to make the recording of calls possible based on specific numbers or users? This customer has specific compliance reasons that they need to record some of the calls.
Right. So earlier this year, we got the APIs released, and there's been a lot of API releases, communications APIs released with the Graph API this year. And the recording one was actually exciting for exactly that reason. That was holding a few places back. And I'm not aware of and I'll say I don't specifically work for Microsoft, or I don't work for Microsoft. I'm a Microsoft MVP. And I'm not aware of any plans or roadmap item to build that into the compliance to kind of have that level of recording capability. However, there are lots of third parties, Verba, now Variant, and a few others. And if you just type it into Bing, you'll find a bunch that do provide this capability. So you should absolutely be able to accomplish that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We had a lot of great new meetings features announced. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of those. Lars, maybe you could touch on a couple of your favorites. There were a couple things Nicole went into and showed some videos or video and demo on layouts, on meeting recap. Can you talk a little bit or new together mode, scenes? Can you talk a little bit about a couple of those ones that were announced and any of the ones that you're really looking forward to as well?
Sure. That allows me to talk about a whole lot. I'll start with just this idea that I think makes Microsoft 365 just very different, which is this idea of the meetings lifecycle, which is we want meetings to be wonderful. Of course that's true, but don't we all just spend so much time in meetings? And wouldn't we all love it if we actually got a lot more work done before we got in a meeting or the follow-ups after a meeting? And so that's where Microsoft 365, I think, really shines. Think about the idea of going into a meeting. Often there's a pre-read, often there's a presentation. Being able to use Teams to share that with the same people that are being in the meeting. Often you don't know several people who are going to be a part of that meeting. The ability, for instance, to look up easily using the Microsoft Graph, the interactions that you've had with those people. In the meeting itself, of course, we had a lot of kind of glitz and glamour. I saw another question about Together Mode. Together Mode is available today, although we really have rolled out that first major scene that I think many people are familiar with, which is kind of that classroom auditorium setting. By the end of the calendar, you started to see several additional formats that I think are going to be really great at reducing meeting fatigue. This idea of kind of the coffee shop format, you have a traditional meeting room format. With being in online meetings so much of the day, people are getting exhausted. They want to have more natural ways of interacting, and I think it's really, really exciting to see Together Mode just continuing to build on what we announced in the summer. The idea of the dynamic stage is also very important, which is how do we understand intuitively what's most important at any given time? Is it the person who's speaking and their face is to be seen? Is it the conference room that's joined and there's very active dialogue in the conference room? Is it the content that's being presented? And whereas there's a lot of historically been these kind of fixed formats, the idea of that our intelligence can help understand where the focal point is so that it really doesn't, again, lead to that level of kind of exhaustion is super important. So those are my favorite. And then, of course, meeting recap. This idea that you may be triple booked, you may be double booked for a given meeting, and you don't have time to go to one, but guess what? That's okay. You're going to get a full transcript. You're going to get the notes, you're going to get the presentation. And if you were tagged in a follow-up, you're going to see that too because someone tagged you in a follow-up. This idea of let's get out of more meetings and let's be able to follow a meeting. I would say those are all just really super important game changers for us.
Thank you, Lars. And with that, I think that is a great question to end on with all the new announcements that were made available today. Please check out our blogs. We will publish that. And we will actually, also publish the blogs and other sessions as well. There is another recording in case you missed it tonight. And there will be another Ask the Expert session as well, right after that recording plays again. So feel free to join again if you have more questions and tell your colleagues as well. We really appreciate it, everyone. So thank you so much for engaging with us, and we hope to talk with you soon. Thanks, everybody.